okay that my characters can break down. It doesn't mean I am breaking down. But I couldn't figure out how to separate it, because generally speaking, I was being hired to be slivers of myself. Everything just feels personal, and you feel naked and completely vulnerable and humiliated.
Only for Tyler Perry to admit he did start a rumor that I was difficult to work with.
Now, actor and filmmaker Tyler Perry sued for $260 million over harassment allegations. The complaint filed in Los Angeles accuses Perry of creating a, quote, coercive, sexually exploitative dynamic with actor Derek Dixon.
That I really had to stop and pay attention. Something's going on here. Because I was so busy just living the life. I don't get caught up in this stuff.
Yeah.
Gabrielle Union, Tyler Perry, and Oprah Winfrey wasn't some big eruption. It was slower, more deliberate, and considerably more frequent than anybody cares to accept. Because in Hollywood, quiet isn't just protection, it's cash. Gabrielle Union also ceased paying the fee. The last time Gabrielle Union featured in a Tyler Perry film was in 2012. There hasn't been a single cooperation in almost 10 years. No cameos, no guest appearances, and no unexpected reunions at his billion-dollar Atlanta studio. Gabrielle's absence says a lot about someone who was formerly thought to be part of the inner circle, and now 13 years later, she's finally telling us why. If you stand up for nothing, you'll fall for everything. It begins, like many tales in Hollywood, with money. Or rather, how much you're not getting paid. Gabrielle Union has become one of the most outspoken actors in Black Hollywood when it comes to wage inequities, and she's made it obvious that quiet is no longer an option. At the 2025 American Black Film Festival, during Ali's Sisterhood and Savings session, she pulled the curtain aside. Her exact words, "Your team will be like, no, that's a great number for you." And I began listening to that small statement a bit differently. What do you mean for me as compared to who? To what? Behind closed doors, a silent movement had started. Gabrielle, along with a close network of peers, women like Regina Hall, Nia Long, and Regina King, began comparing notes. Who's creating what? Who's being offered less? Who's being pushed to the side? It wasn't simply about acting anymore. This was about survival, legacy, and economic fairness. She recalled a now infamous event while working on a huge project. She found out that her second lead was getting paid more than she was. You know, I put in the same hours as most men, and if not more. I deserve to get paid the same, equal pay, equal work, and that's how it should be. An executive on a show, I'm grateful for this person for showing me how not to be. When you're the boss, how not to be. He showed up to my apartment and offered me $100,000 to take my clothes off. He said, "I don't even need to touch you. I just want to see you naked." Tyler Perry is gay. I know he's gay. He knows he's gay. We all have friends that know he's gay. I've hung around Tyler Perry. I've known Tyler Perry for years. The scenario was common enough in the community. Strong Black women being diminished, even when they were in control. But what Gabrielle and her friends did next altered everything. They organized, they planned, they declined roles. Each of them had walking instructions, and they kept to them, and it worked. The studio was compelled to come back to the negotiation table. Number one earned her fair salary, but all of it came with a cost, particularly in Tyler Perry's world where power is king and quiet is cash. Gabrielle started speaking more openly about contract structuring and compensation negotiations. She became the person younger actors consulted when a dodgy contract came over their desk. She taught them how to bargain, how to say no, how to walk away. And with every woman she enabled, she grew farther from Hollywood's most powerful gatekeepers, even the ones with their names on the studio. This wasn't a feud. This wasn't drama. It was deeper than that. Gabrielle Union wasn't just walking away from Tyler Perry. She was walking away from a system that only liked her when she was silent. Gabrielle Union didn't simply move away from Tyler Perry's business. She stepped into something even more dangerous, the implicit blacklist that follows when you start asking the wrong questions. She wasn't alone. Across Hollywood, Black women were silently being penalized for understanding their value, and Gabrielle, with her developing voice, was becoming a challenge to the system. According to Gabrielle, that's when the phony support evaporates, when you establish limits, when you declare you won't labor for crumbs, when you make peace more essential than popularity. Suddenly, you're not grateful, you're difficult. And in Tyler Perry's orbit, that moniker clings quickly. Gabrielle wasn't the only one experiencing it. The murmurs got louder, silent firings, jobs suddenly disappearing, authors let go because they pushed for union perks. Perry has done it before. The House of Pain authors, gone. The Meet the Browns team, replaced. In Gabrielle's environment, the message was clear: speak out and you'll be next. And at the core of this power dynamic, billionaires like Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, creators who preached empowerment in public but reportedly demanded quiet in private. Gabrielle Union had worked with both, and what she come to discover over time was that unity only appeared to count when she remained silent. The instant she began asking questions, the support, gone. She wasn't claiming Perry or Oprah were monster. She didn't need to. The pattern told it all. They understood how the system worked, and they weren't attempting to undermine it, as the rest of Hollywood congratulated Perry for creating a studio and recruiting black talent. Gabrielle glanced around and asked, at what cost, and more importantly, who gets left behind? When Gabrielle Union complained about salary inequalities and being marginalized, she wasn't just speaking for herself, she was warning others. And by 2024, it became evident she wasn't the only one who had been monitoring the system from the inside. Because suddenly, out of nowhere, actor Christian Keys dropped a bomb. He showed up to my apartment and offered me $100,000 to take my clothes off me. He said, I don't even need to touch you. I just want to see you. And when it got really dark, I give you 2 words that helped me. Encourage yourself. If the people around me were negative and naysayers, and listen, I had people that loved me, that told me to stop. I was never going to make it. They weren't. My mother told me I was never going to make it. It wasn't that she was trying to hurt me. It's just that she couldn't see what God had planted in me. And her vision for me was to go and work at the phone company, make a few hundred a month, and get some benefits. She would have been very happy with that. But when God puts something down on the inside of you, and it starts growing, it will stretch everything inside of you till it gets out of recording. So I have them offering me money to take my clothes off. I have recordings when I wasn't working with them or for them. Keys wasn't some fresh face. He was a recognized actor, writer, and co-creator of All the Queen's Men, a BET Plus series produced by none other than Tyler Perry Studios. But instead of naming names explicitly, he allowed the audience find the links, and they did. He talked of being targeted by a rich filmmaker, about covert offers, tape discussions, and hush money that ran into 6 figures. He stated he had the recordings. He stated he'd been followed. He mentioned the individual had numerous young black males on payroll, and he implied significantly that the abuse wasn't just sexual, it was institutional, planned, premeditated. Sell my soul, or excuse my French, y'all. I know some of y'all, hopefully y'all don't have no kids around, but I didn't sell nothing for success. So, there I was in this moment trying to get to this place, trying to push, trying to make it happen. And I had to encourage myself. And what I mean by that is to get away from everything negative that's around you. Block it out with all you can, block it out completely, and start putting on music and read things, and read the word and things that encourage you. Things that are going to make you stronger inside. Because the strength, when it gets in this, comes from the soul. Everything else got to get in line. I think it comes from within first. All roads led to one name, Tyler Perry. Keys never acknowledged it explicitly. Maybe he didn't need to, because only days after the video went viral, something more appeared. A TikTok tale by Brandon JJ, a younger performer, described an entirely different experience, yet it lined up all too perfectly. Mr. Perry comes in, everything changes, so we literally run the entire episode for him, and he hates it. Does that mean I have to learn a whole new script? Yes, that's what I mean. Also, often we forget, when we see celebrities and people who have achieved so much, people like Tyler, we don't understand that middle point. You know a little bit of the beginning, come from nothing, and you build up to being this giant. But what did that gray area middle look like? And that really defines someone's success, right? Just of that dedication and not giving up. Day stated he had auditioned for a standard high school persona, straight bullied straightforward. But on the day of the filming, Perry reportedly rewrote the whole script, changing the character into a homosexual youngster with a crush on his nemesis. No warning, no time to prepare, no consent, and when Jay pushed back, he was warned, adapt or leave. The director is kind of standing on the side like, you better do it, because if not, they will fire you. It's my bone marrow, and I'm tired of this person gallanting around doing these PR stunts. Oh, I'ma do this and I'ma do that. That wasn't guidance, that was coercion. This wasn't just about sexual assault. This was about power. How readily it could be exploited, how fast individuals might be replaced if they spoke out. It was the type of strain Gabrielle Union had been complaining about for years, except now the evidence was everywhere. People began asking if Perry could do that on stage. What else was going behind closed doors? Gabrielle never commented directly on the Keys issue. She didn't have to. The whole industry was beginning to catch on to what she'd been hinting at. Hollywood doesn't protect the defenseless, it protects the powerful. And Gabrielle had simply refused to play that game anymore. Gabrielle Union had spent years watching her classmates be abused, underpaid, rewritten, and abandoned. But when she understood exactly how far the system would go to suppress women who refused to keep in line, something shifted in her. She didn't simply remove herself from Tyler Perry. She moved away, totally. For Gabrielle, the last straw wasn't a spectacular outburst. It was the continual grinding disrespect, the subtle insults, the glaring disparity, and the coldness that followed once she dared to speak out. She wasn't alone in that quiet. Tiffany Haddish understood it too. At one time, she and Tyler Perry were close, openly close. She'd hosted meals, gone to his parties, worked the same business circles. But when Haddish was faced with a contentious lawsuit, one that was eventually dismissed and proved false, everyone vanished, especially Tyler Perry. I lost everything. All my gigs gone, everything gone. His face. You know, I don't know. Bro, this is huge. Harry and Meghan are leaving the palace to become financially independent. And you see, this is what happens when you bring the first black woman into the royal family. Yeah. She looked at Harry and she was like, you need to get a job. You need a job. You a grown-ass man. You can't still be living in your mama's house. No one from Perry's studio openly backed her. No one gave assistance, despite the fact that she had previously been cleared. And Gabrielle, who had been silently studying how these strong friends treat individuals when they're at their lowest, took notes. The quiet was loud. The allegiance was phony. And Perry wasn't only doing this to the ladies he worked with. He was also burning his authors. Remember when 4 writers from House of Pain were sacked for demanding union contracts? That was Perry too. And when the Writers Guild of America came in to accuse him of unfair labor practices, Perry didn't apologize. He didn't negotiate. Instead, he made the news himself. He would write every episode of every program, heading ahead. Alone, to many it sounded like brilliance. To individuals like Gabrielle Union, it sounded like control, obsession, and maybe even fear. Fear of sharing credit, fear of being questioned, fear of having to pay people what they're worth. And that wasn't just behind the scenes. Gabrielle had been observing the way studios pay black women against white women versus black males. She was witnessing celebrities like Monique being compensated for promotional work. She was witnessing kids become dubbed difficult for seeking respect. Gabrielle wasn't surprised. She was just done. Because every time she spoke up, someone would whisper, "That's a great number for you." And she knew what it truly meant. You should be glad to even be here. But she wasn't going to beg for a seat anymore. She was making her own table. Tyler Perry may have been the first to disappoint Gabrielle Union, but he wasn't the only one. Because just beside him was a lady Gabrielle once adored. A lady who built her brand on empathy, on sisterhood, on giving voice to the voiceless. Oprah Winfrey. And when Gabrielle Union began to search around for support, for advocacy, for truth, Oprah was nowhere to be found. Behind the scenes, Oprah's quiet wasn't simply passive. It was intentional. Gabrielle wasn't the only one who noticed. Monique, who had previously been hugged by Oprah, had already raised the warning years before. According to Monique, it all started in 2009 when she featured in Precious. Despite winning an Oscar for her portrayal, she was called difficult after declining to undertake unpaid foreign publicity. She wasn't legally required to promote the picture beyond domestic commitments, And she made that plain only for Tyler Perry to admit he did start a rumor that I was difficult to work with. I asked Tyler. Tyler made it clear he said, look, no one can know that I'm gay. And I'm thinking, what, Tyler P's gay? He's not going to change. I saw you at